Hey Pam and Diamond, this is what I'm just talking to you about the deal with the. Hang on, let me fix my microphone. It's driving me crazy. Okay. The deal with the data. The sheets is you do not have to have different sheets or tabs or columns or whatever. You only have to have different filters whenever you're doing your database. So let me explain it a little bit more. Everybody thinks that you freeze the top one just to have, your filter right there, but that's not true. That is actually, kind of a myth. I mean, really, it's just to show what your filters are whenever you're going down through this place. Okay, there's a thing called a filter range, which the filter range is, for example, the first one, which is the potential African American community member or community partner CBOs, influencers. Your range is going to be A4, or actually, it's going to be A3, including, always include your titles and stuff. And then always include some extra columns because you never know what's going to come up. So it's going to be A3, and I always go to AA for some reason. I don't. There's kind of a joke in there, but do AA through, A3 through A23. You can always insert uh, rows and columns later if you need to, but for right now, and then the way to tell is I always rename my range for my filters. And what you do is you go in here and click the down arrow that says filter views. And most likely you're going to either have none or you're going to have filter view whatever. What you want to do is say create a new filter view, and uh, what I do is I'll create a new filter view, and what it'll do is it'll bring you over here and it'll say, okay, learn, you know, do whatever, name it, blah, blah, blah. And so, since this is, it's going to show you whatever filter view you're actually looking at, the check mark is next to. So, whenever I'm looking at this one, it's going to show me that, I'm looking at my potential African American community one. So, um, if I wanted to filter by city just for this section, let's make sure that we're in the right range, which means the first one is your first box, or I always forget what they call them, cells, your first cell, your first column to your last column. So your first cell to the last cell. So you just kind of drop and drag and say, okay. And every now and then, always make sure that your box is checked in the filter views. So if you are kind of worried about your range being different, just say update range. And if your range is off some, then all you do is go in there and say, okay, let's say it had been 26 instead of that. Well, we got way too many, so you got to go back in there and fix your range, which you can do right here. So it'll be AA, which AA 23. So for some reason, they put a new one in there, but okay. And so now it automatically saves because it is Google. I'm really a fan of Microsoft because I'm married a Microsoft man. But you've got all these frozen over here, and whenever it comes to the titles and stuff, I'm old school, and I've just learned to go in there and make sure that they're a little bit bigger or there's some shading to it, color or whatever. And it's just because I'll know what difference in the, oops. Remember, Control Z is your friend. Um, anyway, well, what I'll do is, just make sure some color's there for some reason, just because whenever I go in there and start looking at it, let me delete this. I've just always been the type that I have to have something that kind of stands out. And we were always taught that, you underline. So I say Control U. So, I know most of you are like wanting to do it by county. So you can go in there and say county. And it drives me nuts for the lines not to be right, too. So y'all have to excuse me, but I'm kind of a guru whenever it comes to the lines. So I'll come in here and I'll actually fix the lines, and y'all notice that because it just drives me crazy from a graphic designer side. So, just excuse me on that one. Let me fix this real quick. Okay. My goodness. It's gonna make me nuts today. I hope y'all are having a blessed Sunday. Oh, sorry, my new computer is kind of mad at me today, I guess. Okay, I'm not gonna fool it. We'll just go back to having no borders. Okay, so that's how you do that one. Okay, let's say that we want to go to adult, the adult learners section. See, that's why I always like kind of point out, make sure that it's a lot bigger than this because you really can't tell what section it is. So just have some little color behind it. And then with the target audience and all that, make sure that it's big and that it's underlined. And then go in here where the little filter is, that looks like a little filter for your car, and go to adult learners. Make sure that your sections are right. You always want to include the text, well, my mind's gone, y'all. You always want to include the topics, or the column header. So you'll say, okay, A26, and then you go down here, and then you'll say AA, and it's 45, because you don't want to include the black part, because then you'll have the black part in there somewhere. You want that as a little kind of, break in wherever you are. So you got AA45, or A26, AA45. So go up here, make sure that's what it's called, and you're good to go. Always make sure you've got those little lines there. That means that your filter's turned on for that little section. So, and if it's not, then it won't do anything. You'll just sit there and be clicking, and it won't do anything. It'll just take you to a different screen, whatever, So I want to do by county and say A to Z. So Craighead, Faulkner, whatever. And then it goes, you continue to do the same thing. So school districts. Remember, I had my school districts all messed up earlier. So click that. And so you got to make sure that your school districts are right. A48, we know that that's not right. So we start off with actually that's adult learning. So let's go back to school districts. So A48 is correct. And then we go to the last one. Remember, it's like 512, and we're like, okay, no, we don't want it that way. And see, I put let's see. I put a little green marker through there. I should just put a black one, which I'll do that right now. And so, because I put additional school districts by Mandy, but this one should be through 105. So go back up here. Say school districts. And then school districts should just be through 105. Because you're just wanting the first school districts. The additional school districts, you're wanting from me or over there. So you can do it by A to Z. And there is a way to always go back if you see something that was wrong. Let's see. It's been a minute since I've used this, so you'll have to excuse me. Let's see. I can put some add-ons in if you need me to, but you know, go up here and make sure that you're in school districts with your little filter views. And I mean, it's not always going to be in order unless you've done it that way. But if I go to Mandy school districts, you know, added by Mandy. Let's see. It's going to be AA 105. Actually, it's supposed to be AA 108. Go around here and see what we got, because I can't remember what all I put in here. 512. And I've, oh, I messed that up. Even the Geek Squad does this, so, okay. I also noticed that my additional schools by Mandy, okay, so I'll do a cut. Oh, I still haven't got this, I got a new MacBook and it's still not working with me the way I want it to. So cut, and insert overlay, and paste. I'm trying to work on my doctoral stuff, so okay. So go in here and say schools added by Mandy is 109. You can see I always do a sheet that's on. I'm married, like I said, I'm married to a Microsoft guy, so, or a .NET developer. And so this is going to be 519 or 513. One day I will remember to wear my glasses. And so schools added by Mandy. That's the range that I've got right there. And sometimes it will delete it, and sometimes you'll be stuck with an extra one or whatever, but there's my barbers. Make sure my barbers and beauty salons and faith-based organizations are in there good. Put a color behind it. My favorite color is yellow, y'all, so remember that for my birthday. So I always make this where it's got something behind it. Yeah, with it. churches. But I'm going to go through here, and that way you'll know. But always, go ahead in here and you want to check the schools and stuff. I'm going to make sure that I've got everything, but I've got to go through literacy councils and then, make sure that we've not missed anything because one more thing I thought about was whenever we were, working at the Rose City ALE Academy was that they were talking about how some of the biggest, booming legal businesses in the African American and Hispanic populations were liquor stores. Let's see. There's also technology businesses. Believe it or not, because there's a lot of and pawn shops, but there's also funeral homes. So you might want to think on those too. There are a lot of daycares, but and bear in mind that a lot of these daycare people have older kids. Like for some reason there is a split in the ages. Like some of them will have a kid that is 23 years old and then have one that is 6 years old. And it was just really strange. And usually it's Hispanic because they have about 13 or 14 kids. And I had about 4 students in the 4th grade last year that it was like that. So, you might want to think on that. So, anyway, well, I'm going to ship this off to you and put it in a link so you can watch. So, I'm not going to show you what I look like because I look terrible today. But, anyway, I will get this to you. And if you have any questions, just remember that all of this is going to be here. It will be looking a little bit better here in a little bit, but it will not. It is really not that hard. I'll have some add-ins, and then you can also go in your settings. And this is kind of this is the advanced view on the filters. So make sure that you're in advanced view. So anyway, I hope y'all have a great day. I hope this explains everything. And I wanted to show y'all this too as well. Whenever you Google something and you need a lot of stuff in the Arkansas education system, go to Arkansas Department of Education and Data Center. Let me go back one. And so whenever you Google it, there's a statewide information system. And whenever you click that, that's where all of the information is that you need. And the statewide information system is very, very important because this is where you get a lot of your information whenever it comes to schools, districts, counties, that kind of stuff. The schools is where I get a lot of my information, like classified staff, certified staff by race. You can get the principal contact list. That right there is your gold. And you can export it by PDF or XML. It's going to show you 2017-18, and it also shows you the percentage of enrollment by race, grade. But this LEA number over here is really important because it's going to let you know what school district it's in. So I thought I'd show y'all that. So if you ever, need some really good data, UALR has some, and then make sure whenever you're looking for data that it's scholarly data. And Google has a website called Scholar. So you have and Google Scholar is where you get all this scholarly data. So whenever you're trying to find something to compare it with, like let's say low socioeconomic status and education, because we know that low socioeconomic areas schools don't get a lot of resources compared to high ones. So that's what my doctoral is in or was in until I went through all this stuff with Little Rock School District. But this right here will show you things that have been peer reviewed, and peer reviewed means that it's real. It's stuff. It's not just somebody writing on Wikipedia or this is real. These are actually studies done by real doctoral, real smart people. Real. It's backed by education. It's backed by the CDC or whatever, and it'll let you do a custom range or whatever. But and if it does ask you to give it, if you do need some more scholarly uh, places that you can need some statistical data. I have SPSS on my computer, and I can do that a lot. So let me know how I can help you there too. So, and then Pam, just pay whatever, but just write it to Bill Chapin, so Chapin. And I know that you're running your business on a dime too. So, but anyway, let me get this to you. So just remember everything that you do. Make sure that it's scholarly data, and then don't forget about the ADE's website. It's called the Statewide Information Systems. And if you're looking for any type of information, whenever it comes to state information, like salary information, is the transparency. I think I spelled that right. Arkansas. So let's see. You go to the transparency, and then you'll go to revenues, expenditures. It's got a bunch of stuff there. But agency, you can see what people are making. For some reason, schools are not on there, but that's because they'll never be accountable. And it's just that's a whole different story. But to let you know what contracts are there, and then always check the newspaper for the bids and stuff like that. So, and if you have any grant information, always go to grants.gov. So, and Pam, since you have a small business, you need to call Karen Castle at AEDC and let her register you on the small and minority business. And she's fabulous. So this is Arkansas AEDC. That is. Let's see. There's incentives. I worked in the grants department. I'm going to try and apply there again. Jean Noble is in the grants, and she's very sweet. I've worked with her a couple of times. And they do the community development grants. If you have any questions on that, I can help you with that. I used to have to do trainings on that for people. But there's also, what is it? Okay. Go to the reports on data, because you always want to know the economic data reports. There's a list called the LMI list. And I forget what his name is now. It's just drawing a blank. Kirk is his name, or Kurt. And Kurt Nauman or Denise Hanna. And I know both of them. Just say, well, Mandy Chapin told me to call you, and they'll know exactly who you're talking about. And so they'll show you what the economic data reports are, or whatever, so you can pull all this up. So, okay, I've given you enough for one day. So, but remember, on the database, make sure you have the little check mark by where you want to. And then, so, little funnel. And then churches. Scroll up to where churches are. There's our churches. Make sure the little filters are there. Say we want to filter by county. We only have Pulaski, but oh, actually, that was cool. And so you can do it by county, by city, and it'll pull everything with it. So don't worry that it's getting all mixed up everywhere. But I'll have it going for you. Hope that helps and have a great day. Talk to y'all soon.